Hello, so here's a video quick about some helpful reminders just with this Desmos project. Feel free to watch it as many times as you need. So first thing is if you look under our week 11 and you go to the very bottom page or bottom of the page, you see the Desmos project. And in that project, you click on yours might look a little different, but you can see the rubric itself. So you'll click that and that will just bring you to the rubric, which when you're done, you will fill that rubric out using the self-assessment, filling in the project descriptions, and then copy and pasting your link. When you're done with that, you submit it, and that way I can go and grade the teacher score. So let's talk about the Desmos project really quick. You know what? Actually, one last thing. Under the week 11, and I just happen to put this on Monday, is we have the notes from Monday. That's the PDF, and if you scroll down, you have the parent functions. So you either want to pause the video and take a screenshot of this, or open those notes, and that can kind of help you with A, H, and K and how each function moves. All right, so what I'm going to do is just really quick show you some things about the Desmos project that could be helpful. And I might even try to make a little scene myself. So what I'm going to do is use the parent function of the absolute value, which you may have learned back in Algebra 1. Notice I used H and K, and then I clicked all for sliders. Now what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually try to make this into a mountain. And I'm going to play around until I get that mountain to be kind of right where I want it to be. Okay, so now you might notice something here with my zeros. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste it down below. And then I'm going to change the A value to -1.8. I'm going to change the H value. Now you could just easily type it in like this, but we know that a subtraction of a negative is actually a positive. So same thing. And then we've got 5.8. Now, why might I do that? Well, this now solidifies this green peak. And what if I want to create another one? What if I want to move one over here? And maybe this is a mountain that is going to be a little taller. So then I can do the same thing. And now I have another value with the same A value, a different H value, and a different K value. Okay? And then maybe I'd turn off the original one. Whatever you want to do. Anyways, look at the restrictions here. So if I use parentheses, I can restrict this with the X direction. So I could do it from -7.92 to -1.478. Or I could also do this in the Y direction, and that might actually be better. If I do Y is greater than 0, notice how it only graphs this portion, so it cuts it off at the x-axis. Another thing I could do is, what if I play around with the inequalities? What if I want that part to be shaded? Notice how I just changed that. Instead of an equal sign, I changed it to the less than or equal, so it's going to shade everything below this graph. All right, and then same thing here. Now here's where I could get really creative. If I want to do shading here, I'm going to change the equal sign to a less than, but then I have some overlap, and maybe I don't want that. So what I could do is I could figure out roughly the X value of where it hits. So this is... we could get kind of creative here. Okay, so we can play around with some restrictions. And if we do that, I could set the same restrictions as I had before and just say, you know what, I want everything greater than 0. And there you can see there's some overlap. You can also, if you want, and I'm not saying this is perfect, but if you really get creative with this, you could put a restriction as taking the equation from above and saying that, you know what, you want y to be greater than all of that. And notice how that cut that off. So I actually used one equation inside of a restriction for another. And it kind of got me a little more creative to get what I wanted. Now, you don't have to do that, but those are options. So notice I use multiple restrictions on one line. That's definitely a possibility for you to do. Okay, so let's say that there's my mountain scene. And now I want to add the equation of a circle. So the equation of a circle, I'm going to use sliders, was r squared equals x minus h squared plus y minus k squared. And then now I run into one small problem here. So notice how it says add a slider for r. I already used h and k from above. So maybe instead of using h, maybe I'll use t and I'll use s. Now I have sliders for those, and it's not going to change the function from above. So what if I want to pretend that this is the sun? I want to move an item over and up. And let's see if I can get like a rising sun out of here. Now, first thing, like we talked about before, I might just want to copy this and paste it. And then I'll change my radius to, let's change this to like 1.6. Okay, so I changed r to 1.6. My t value was -3, and then my s was 3.7. All right, so now I have exactly that. What you could do to color that is I could take and shade everything inside of it. Oops, wrong one. Change that to an inequality. And then I could actually change the color. If you haven't done that yet, you can go to Edit and then change the color. You could even change the thickness of the lines if you wanted. Or you could make the lines itself dotted. I'm actually going to leave it just the way it is. And then I might play around with some restrictions here. Now this would be very creative, but I want to restrict it from this value, this function, and the purple one. So I'm going to actually go back up to the red function. I'm going to copy it, just the function itself. I'm going to put that as a restriction. Ooh, now notice it took everything less than that. So what if I change it to equal? So now I have that restriction, but I'm going to, this is a good point. I accidentally hit delete. Click undo. That's a huge helpful hint. All right, then I'm going to add another restriction. So I'm going to create my brackets, and I want to restrict it using the purple line. If I go to the purple line, and I want to take that equation, highlight just that function, and then I'll go to my brackets and I'll paste that in. Now notice it shades the wrong area, so I could flip that around. And then the problem is I still have this dotted line. I haven't played around with that enough to figure out how to get rid of that. But you could, oh, never mind, I take that back. If I click on that, that was the original function. This is the one that I want. So I just turned off the one with the sliders. So look at what I have. I have two absolutes, I have a circle, and I'm already starting to take form of my shape. So I just wanted to show you a little bit how you can do restrictions, and we got really creative with it using a function within itself, but hopefully you can kind of play along with the help features. Remember, you've got a little tour here for sliders. You can watch the restriction piece again. You can also go to video tutorials. And when you scroll down, you might be able to find some color and shading. That might be interesting. You could look at how to use inequalities. That's what we use. There's movable points as well. That might be something worth looking at. More with sliders, but there's also animation. So let's say that I wanted to do animation. Let's see if that pops up with anything. how to animate stuff on Desmos, graphing calculator. I haven't watched these, so I'm not going to vouch for them, but I think I ventured out of the site here. So you can just scroll up and down until you find what you want. But there should be, if I remember right, there's an animation slide that you could add in here to get some animated. Another way to do animation is to create a slider and hit play. Now that's going to, you'll see if I bring this here, so I turn this back on. If you hit play, that's one way to animate some of these items. All right, hopefully that's kind of enough for you to just get a good start and kind of see what's going on. I guess the one thing I should say is I should have probably labeled this. All right, here's Mr. Strub's Desmos Project, hour 4. And then you hit save. As you do work, you should always hit this button often. You want to save as much as you can. All right, that's all I have. Good luck. Adios.